it's important to work with the forest mulcher because they're going to want to do a certain level of work. But in my case, I'm okay with the slash method. So you see this log here, you see this log right here. He wants to shred this stuff nice and clean, and everything's going to be really, really tight. We were chatting. He's taking a little breather and getting some clarifications on the markings. And like I said in the previous video, you can tell by observing the work whether or not they are understanding your markings. And by the way, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead, and I'm working on a site here. I got a forest mulcher out clearing a home site, and they're not clearing it, they're thinning out the woods. But he asked the question, he said, look, I want to do a good job. I want to make sure I'm clearing this enough. But my perspective is just blaze it. Run through as clean as fast as you can, knock down the trees, shred up the majority. Because again, trees like this and trees like this, I'm just gonna pry them out and make firewood. As long as I can drive a pickup truck through here, which this is beautiful, man. Look at that. I put the truck in four-wheel drive. I move through here nice and clean. As long as it's like that, I am perfectly fine. I'm more than delighted. You can see right here these branches and things. I'll have the kid out here with a handsaw or me with a chainsaw, and we'll stack this stuff up, cut it into firewood, and we'll enjoy it in a campfire. We'll have that father-son time. We'll have that chill and relax time. I got a couple friends. We're going to come over here and have some relaxed time, some barbecue, and ultimately we are good to go. I want to share with you in this video what I mean by deadfall and the opportunity for firewood in a holistic land management system. So again, he's forest mulching rather than clear cutting. He's thinning the woods out rather than completely clearing the woods. He's not going to go in any ditches. He's not going to go anywhere where the equipment slows down. I want him to have a fast and steady pace. Normally a forest mulcher can do about an acre a day. It's an 8-hour day, 7 hours of mulching, about an hour of breaks here and there, checking equipment. I want to mark any of the obstacles, but when he finds a ditch or something like that, and we'll walk over on this other side here, if he finds a ditch or something like that, don't worry about it. And then these trees, what I'm talking about is not worry about shredding them. You see these trees that have fallen down here? Those trees are perfectly fine for firewood. So I would saw them up with a saw, and I'd split the wood. It's perfectly fine for firewood. Deadfall is trees like this. So we got a tree right here that's kind of snagged in the tree. See, it's kind of snagged up here. Now these are dangerous to cut down, but cutting down this tree gives me a little bit of firewood. The bottom's probably rotted out there, but in some cases that could even be a pole for a shelter. So I could probably get 2 10-foot poles out of that to build an animal shelter, or even if you're building a little wilderness shelter. But all this wood that's fallen down here, all of this wood can get dragged out and cut up, but you got to have access to it because otherwise you're carrying it around on your shoulder. So I can simply drive a truck down in here, cut that firewood on the side of the trails, throw it in the back of the truck, end up with a pickup truck full of wood. All of this small stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is kindling. In a couple weeks, that'll be all dried out. I come out here, we pick up these things, we carry them back to camp, we cut them up at camp. We drive the truck down here, okay, and I pick up this stuff, throw it in the back of the truck, 8-foot sections, take it to camp, cut it up at camp, and then we've got firewood. Now we also make charcoal, and so some of this wood I might actually use to make charcoal, and at the campsite the way we make charcoal would actually give us heat and give us something to cook on. So ultimately I'm getting cooking heat or fuel, and I'm getting the charcoal that I need for either charcoal as in forest restoration to put back into the soil, or charcoal that I can cook again on in a smaller cook burner, or if I'm barbecuing something. So look at this, what we're doing here. He's come through here. This is the back half of the trail, and he's cut this out. Actually, let me double check something because it might not be the back half. He had mentioned that some of the markings weren't clear, and I need to see whether or not the markings continue down here. But again, see this wood over here? Okay, see that dead one standing up in the middle there? All that stuff's going to fall down eventually. So what we're going to do is, I'm not doing it today, but we're going to cut that down and use that for firewood. That's the resource that keeps on giving. Now, as we take out that wood, it frees up it basically allows better airflow in the woods. It takes the pressure off the trees. See that section of tree that's fallen there? You know, that doesn't need to be there. I can pull that down. These pieces on the ground, if I don't get to them, they're going to turn to mushrooms. Now, speaking of mushrooms, one of the things that you can do after the forest mulchers come through is you can actually inoculate these trails. Now, I'm not close enough to show you, but we actually seed it and inoculated these trails. Now, in a wooded area where it's shady, I put a very light seed in because there's no sun to grow the grass. In areas that have more sun, such as our north-south runs, I put regular amount of seed in and it will grow grass. But all of that under the woods, all that underbrush, is food for animal habitat. And I actually saw earlier some birds in these trails. I know I've mentioned it on other videos, but these trails are revitalizing the woods by allowing airflow, by allowing access to dead wood and other materials that we can use as resources. So instead of cutting down a perfectly good tree, I can use deadfall to feed to have a resource. They're opening up the woods in a way that animals can get in with different kinds of feed, so you can start growing your food plots in here. Also, if you inoculate the shredded material, you can end up with oyster mushrooms, lion's mane, all kinds of mushrooms in the wooded areas that would otherwise not have grown there on their own. And so there's ways to inoculate. We can talk about that in other videos. Again, if he ends up in areas where we have runs like this, and all he does is mow around it, then we have wildlife habitat strips or shelter strips for small birds, which will bring in seeds. They'll also eat all the insects, so we'll have fewer mosquitoes, and we'll have fewer of the other pests that you might have in a wooded area like ticks. And it's just it's an exciting way to manage a forested area. Again, I could bulldoze all this stuff, but it's not going to be worth the long value that we want. Now, this area I'm in right now is actually a low ditch area, and I can't drive a truck across this. So what we're going to do with that area is, after we get all this little shredded wood out of here, which again is firewood, I'm actually going to put a drain tube in there and dig out above it to make a small micro pond or a finger pond. So now I got a little water source on here. So I've gone from scrub forest to multiple clearings and lots of resources into some water areas to feed the habitat. And what do you think the deer population is going to do with this? The deer population is going to love it. And they're going to get bigger, and they're going to get more frequent. Turkeys. Now, there are bear out here, but again, if you end up with a bunch of bear, then you just hunt them. So again, I talked about it. Does hunting have a place in permaculture? I'm not actually a hunter. I haven't hunted before successfully. I've been out to hunt but didn't find anything. But what I do know is land conservation. So we're going to live with the nature of the land. We're going to help the land express its greatest potential. We're going to end up with a better managed area that we can access regularly. So here's another ditch. This one will end up to be another finger pond. And being that there's two finger ponds here, there will probably be a swale across to connect the two. And that's going to slow and spread out the water to give me better hydration, which again is going to grow the trees better and grow the trees bigger. When the trees get bigger, you can cut out a tree and then drive back here with a piece of equipment and drag it out of here. We are building abundance. Now, one of the things about water and organic material is that it'll ferment in there and make a really good soil. So if this area gets turned into a finger pond, and I fill this in to get a bridge across here so I can get a truck through, I'm going to slow down the water that runs down the hill, but I'm also going to have a really healthy growing area. Now this is on the north side of a hill, so I'm not really going to get adequate sun, but again, I'm getting these little microclimates, these small little habitats that I could grow something in it to have the land produce even more. So again, think about the layers. We're getting the firewood and brush material that we can burn or turn into charcoal. We're getting the access points and habitat. We're getting areas for food plots. We're getting areas for camping. Some beautiful areas for camping, primitive camping, and then there should be, because we're putting a perimeter road in about 21 feet wide for this particular area, I'll be able to get a well truck in here to get a well, but I'll also be able to get a camper back here. So I can come back here and sleep in the camper. I can come back here and sleep in a tent. Come out here and sleep in a hammock. And again, look at this area right here. Isn't that beautiful? We got some sun in here. We've still got some shady parts. There's enough room to get in and out with a four-wheeler or on foot. Definitely enough room if you're gonna, if you're gonna bring down some of these smaller trees over time. But again, I don't need to bring these trees down. Even these 4-inch wide trees are going to be 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches eventually. Let's keep on moving through here. You can see where we have a ditch opening up, so there's a drain in the woods here. Okay, and it comes over here to a drain or a ditch here. This is going to be a wet spot right where we're at. So I might want to have an excavator come out and do the same thing we're doing on the other areas and build another small pond here. Now, if we have access that we can get a dump truck back here, we'll be able to actually fill this with clay and build a larger pond or water capture that will, again, multiply the value of the land, spread and soak water into the land, increase the habitat of the land. I could go on this for hours. In fact, when we walk land on a nature trail or I walk land with an owner, I'll ask him, what do you want to do with the land? What are you looking for? And essentially, we can turn degraded land into like parks. We can turn degraded land into homesteads. We can turn degraded land into habitat. We can turn degraded land into food and financial security. I want to thank you for watching. If you got any questions, visit me at www.prosperityhomestead.org. Go to the contact page, ask those questions, or ask in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. I'm here to help landowners create and keep, help nature. Just really magnify the value of nature, magnify our impact in a positive way so that we all get greater and greater natural value. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.